For the result area on gender mainstreaming, First UN Women have led different UN agencies in interventions that address, policy plans and budgets for government to mainstream gender issues. So this has avoided duplication from different UN agencies.
Women's empowerment is not just one thing. It's mainstreaming, it's gender-based violence, it's economic empowerment, it is now leadership. I could be dealing with issues of just being understood within the environment that I operate, which needs gender to be mainstreamed for me to have my, a conducive working environment. I think research informs policy, it forms any decisions that you make, it forms any strategic planning. And research will generate data. That data is what you need to actually see that there's a problem out there.
There must be evidence on why it is important to invest in women, to invest in girls, and to invest in boys if then, for instance, they're the ones that are marginalized in a particular society. And of course, this has also required partnership with government institutions that are mandated to, generate evidence for the country within the different sectors.
The decision to have national gender research and documentation centers originated from a meeting of ministers of gender from the, 11 countries of the Great Lakes region. And this was actually a joint activity between UNESCO and UNIFEM then. So then they decided that the first step is to come up with a regional gender research and documentation center that would be based at DRC, Congo. But then that regional center cannot work in isolation. There's a need to link all these other countries. And so Kenya, of course, was just one of those countries. And UNESCO came on board and we negotiated with the government and the University of Nairobi, where the research had recommended that the center should be hosted.
The center's main objective is to encourage as well as facilitate collaborative research on gender, equality, and women empowerment.
I think Kenya is one of the strongest of these centers. Why? Because there's been a lot of support also, from us. And again, the government's commitment, and the government has been quite excited about this, and they have seconded staff. They even put it in their budget so that it can operate.
The statistics that I collect are important because the government is responsible for providing social services. So education being a social service, it informs government on whether it is delivering on its promise, the progress that is being made, and if there are any necessary adjustments that are needed to be done in the education sector, then the statistics would inform that.
At the first level, for any national development blueprint, you would need indicators that then show, for us to achieve this 5-year plan towards the next 30 years, what are the indicators we must see that are progressing every 5 years? So I think gender indicators are critical, and then of course then they must be sex disaggregated.
Sex disaggregated data is very important because various policies, projects and programs affect men, women, girls, boys differently. And therefore, for us to go into disaggregating that data, we are able to get to know the impact of the program.
The importance of the statistics to gender mainstreaming is Historically, we've had inequity in education sector, for instance. In primary, we've had a very big campaign by the government championing supply of sanitary pads to schools, which has helped girls stay in school during their menstruation, which in the past would keep them away from school and then affect their participation in school.
In every year, they are providing sanitary towels, but they don't reach out to all the schools. We need to actually collect data to find out which schools and how many girls are reached out in Kenya, so that the government can actually put enough money to provide for this very important aspect of girls' education. If we are talking of empowering women, we need to start empowering the young.
The joint program has shaped the discourse in why it is important to invest in gender equality and women's empowerment. And what we have seen then in the last couple of years is that government has now started, has picked it up as a priority issue going forward. A good example is like the Kenyan National Household Budget Survey. The National Bureau of Statistics has reached out to the Gender Directorate to give gender indicators that should then be in the survey to look at different households and how budget issues are affecting them.
The data will help you to decide how to approach an issue, or to start with whether you need to intervene. Is there really a problem? If there's a problem, what is informing your decision or your knowledge that there's a problem? Then you support it with data.
Of course, studies have shown that countries that have not taken this into consideration, then it means half of the population is always left behind, which then impedes on economic development. So I think for me that is what gender mainstreaming is, and that's how then it would contribute to the overall development of any country.